I'm Rupinder Paliwal. I'm the Provost and Chief Academic Officer at Bryant University in USA. Bryant University is a private higher education institution in US based in Rhode Island, very close to Boston. It's a long legacy of 163 years. The university was founded in 1863 and still going strong after 163 years. It's known well for its strong business education, and we continue to develop our relationship in India.
I welcome you to the Crazy Careers podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm happy to join the podcast. Myself, I am Rupinder Paliwal. I'm the Provost and Chief Academic Officer at Bryant University in USA. Just to give you some background on Bryant University is a private higher education institution in US based in Rhode Island, very close to Boston. It's a long legacy of 163 years. The university was founded in 1863 and still going strong after 163 years. It's known well for its strong business education, and we have number of students and alumni from India, and we continue to develop our relationship in India.
Right. So, considering your experience, I would like to know, and this particular question will have interest from our audience as well. So, what skills will define successful careers over the next decade?
I think the next decade, with so much change coming and the pace of change has been accelerated with artificial intelligence, what will be the most important thing for the students with being adaptable and being resilient, willing to change and pivot? That is going to be most important thing. Love of learning, because we'll have to constantly learn. All of us have to constantly probably unlearn and learn. The love of learning will be important. Being flexible, being curious is important.
Right. We all know that with the intervention of AI, few jobs are going to get banished, few jobs are going to get transitioned. So, how should students prepare for jobs that may not yet exist? So, we definitely do not know about the skills that is required for that job. So, how should they prepare for it?
I think most important thing, as I mentioned, that love of learning and adaptability will be important to prepare for that. Gaining as much experience will be important. What we see with the AI is it is automating what we used to call prediction based on the data, based on the information you have. That has become more and more easier and automated by AI. So what will becomes important is judgment based on that data, based on the analysis, based on the alternatives which the AI models will present in front of you. You still have to make that judgment or make a call. AI models might somehow pretend that they know what is the best way to go, but it is up to the individual to make a judgment, to make a decision. Think about consequences, being able to look at the trade-offs, and that comes from experience. So that's why the education, focusing on education, which allows you to get an experience, or the learning by doing rather than learning by reading. Those kind of educational models will be important. I think historically in Indian context, we have always learned that how do you get from knowledge to wisdom? From knowledge to wisdom, you go through experience. Once you have experience, more experience you have more wisdom. More wisdom you have, you are able to do better judgment. And that's why the students need to focus on which institution, which education model is going to provide you more opportunities to gain that experience, whether it is through internship, whether it is through corporate connection with industry engagement, whether we are bringing the industry experts in the classroom, whether your faculty are bringing those kind of real experience into the classroom. Those become important in classrooms. And more work you do, and the more you're involved in the real project, that prepares you well for things which are uncertain.
Yeah. Right. So, I would like to know, is traditional degree still enough to succeed globally in today's world?
So degree is a certificate which gives you validation of your learning. So in that term, the traditional degree we can say is still valuable, but how do you achieve that degree? How do you get that credential? How do you get that validation? That becomes important. What is this degree signifying in terms of even the transcript that you get from your institution? Does it talk about the experiential education that you have, the experiences you have in terms of building projects? What becomes important is what you build, right? That's what the employers are looking for, rather than what you learned. What did you build? And whether those degree and the credentials capture that that becomes more and more important. What can you showcase as what is your differentiator as you go and interview for jobs?
Right. So what are the opportunities that exist for Indian students in the US job market today?
I will talk in general in terms of, I think,
Mhm.
what is important for the students and my own experience. I grew up in India. I went to US for my doctoral degree and have been able to work there for now almost 26 years. A lot of learning which happens is by traveling. And when you travel, whether it is domestically or internationally, you learn a lot when you're dealing with different cultures, you're dealing with different ways of working. That's where the learning happens. So that global mobility is still as important for students to learn. And that's where you have to make judgment. That's where you have to make decisions, that you have to make trade-offs when you're that's why it is important, even though there are really strong choices in India for the students. What it becomes important is how do you gain those experiences? Have you dealt with cultures and people who work differently than you? And in that context, the US education, going to US, it still continues to be important because many of the students in India, even if they come back to India after education, they will be working. Their clients work of their companies they will be working are based in US. Context matter if you understand the context because you have been to that country, you have worked with folks in that country. That helps, and it helps to get a job not only in US or back in India but across the continent. That it enhances your global mobility.
Right. We already know that India is one of the largest demography when it comes to study abroad. Like students from India are going and studying in different countries across the globe. So, what should Indian students prioritize when choosing a university abroad? Because that's what is important, and every students watching us today would definitely like to know about.
Yeah, I think most important thing is this first an institution which treats you as an individual and not as a number. That is important because I think we strongly believe it at Bryant University that personal attention leads to personal accomplishment. So look for an institution where you will not be lost as a number. And then everything builds on that is whether that institution is going to provide you a more experiential education where you are really engaging with real world problems, working with real companies which have global context. Again, to talk about Bryant education and Bryant curriculum, the three things which are foundational to our education is the philosophy of beyond books. Beyond books, by books, we mean that experiential education. You're learning by doing, not just reading. You have real internship, you have real industry work and capstone projects. And then beyond boundaries, our education is intentionally interdisciplinary. So you're not only learning just business, but it's also integrates technology. Now more and more AI, every student is required to take at least one course in AI. So that beyond boundaries piece is important. So that also help in building the judgment, especially having that context on humanities and history piece is important. And then the third piece is the beyond borders, which is the international context. So beyond books, borders, and boundaries, that is the kind of education you want to look at if you want to prepare for a world which is increasingly uncertain and rapidly changing.
So what differentiates Bryant University's academic and career focused model from the other universities?
Yeah, so I think the education again starts with your faculty. When the faculty who are in your classroom, their approach to education. The Bryant education, it is differentiated because of our faculty who is really believe in this model of beyond books, boundaries, and borders. And the faculty bring real work experience. Most of our faculty have actually worked in the industry related to the discipline they are teaching. And they care about the student success. They believe in that we are in the industry for students. Students are central to our education. And therefore, they are always looking to make sure they are themselves updating with the changes in which are happening in the economy. All of our faculty are going through the training for this AI economy. Our faculty are taking courses. Before we ask our students that every student have to take a course in AI, we have to make sure all our faculty across the discipline, whether it is in business, in humanities, or social sciences, or liberal arts, they themselves are training up themselves, learning into what is the application of AI and implication of AI in their respective. So that's constant learning, which comes right from the faculty and translate into the learning for the student to really differentiate our education.
Right. So why should Indian students consider Bryant for global career pathways? Here, I want like apart from learning, what all are the extra things that they will be getting from it? So I would really like to know.
I think they will get a real work experience right from day one. All our undergraduate students, right in the first semester, they have to deal with a real problem, which comes right from our industry partners or business partners, and that they have a 72-hour sprint which they have to work through. Really identifying the problem, real empathizing with the client. They have to go and interview the client, understand the problem, and then design the solution for it in a 72 hours sprint. They ideate, they prototype, and they implement, and then they relearn. So that kind of foundation right from the year one, in the first year, they build on that. We call that as a design thinking approach. And then a faculty from whom they are learning regularly, are they in touch with it. They are faculty who are accessible on a regular basis. That again differentiate our education.
Right. All right. It was really an insightful conversation, and thank you so much for joining us in today.
Thank you for having me.